Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lone Vic and today we are diving into Shake That City, a game from AEG for 1 to 4 players, which is a compact city builder tile layer kind of game. And in this video we will dive into the rules and the setup for a multiplayer game. If you like the content that I'm providing here on my channel and you would like to support what I'm doing here, you can click the like button, hit the subscribe and ring the notification bell under this video in order to be notified about new content coming to my channel on a regular basis. And if you feel like it, in the description to this video, there is a link in which you can buy me a cup of coffee. And for now, let's take a look at how to set up Shake That City. Okay guys, so Shake That City comes with this very unique component, this kind of, randomizer for the cubes that are delivered to the game. And there is a specific instruction in the rulebook on how to put it together once you punch it out from the boards. I won't be going through that, but this is how it looks like once it is already created. And inside of this shaker, let's call it like that, there are 32 cubes in 5 colors that come with the game, and you should drop all of them inside in there. And this is the first step of your preparation for the game. You have to put it together only once and then store it in the box. The next thing is that each player gets one city board, and they are two-sided. There is the landlocked side and there is the beachfront side, and there are some different scoring rules connected with each of the sides, but for the purpose of this tutorial we'll be doing the landlocked side setup. Depending on the number of players, give each player one of those boards. All of the boards have to be on the same side. Place the shaker in the middle of the table, and then additionally from the cardboard bigger elements we have this scoring reminder, which has a side for the landlocked side scoring rules and a side for the beachfront scoring rules. In this corner over here, you can see which map does the side relate to. Place it so that it's visible for all the players, and take this turn track counter and place it somewhere on the table as well. The box also comes with a score pad for, well, calculating your score, but you will need that only at the end of the game. Now there are a few additional elements to go for setting up the game, and there are 4 sets of elements for 4 players. And for example, this is a set of elements for player number 3, and you can see the number 3 on the lower left corner of every element that you will punch with those yellow backgrounds, and also on those construction tiles. So each player should receive 4 of those construction tiles with their player number, 6 of these additional scoring tiles, all with their player number over here in the lower left corner. So in my case it's 3 because that's what I've taken, and this one curved scoring marker also with the same number. So this will be a whole set. It should have 11 elements in total. And once the players have those elements, you should decide which player is going to be the starting player. And the starting player places this curved scoring tile in the top left corner of their board as they are sitting, and this shows that this is the northwestern direction on the map, and all the other players have to copy the first player by placing their curved scoring tile in the same cardinal direction. So this is very important. For example, if 2 players are sitting on the same side of the table next to each other, this second player will place their curved scoring tile over here as well. But if, for example, hypothetically, the other player was sitting opposite of the first player, they would be placing their curved tile as well on the northwestern side. So those cardinal directions are for all players. So in my case, north is always over there, and west is always over there, and east is always over there, right? So if your setup looks, for example, like this, after you've placed this curved scoring tile, you did something wrong. But let me move back over here right now. And now, back to the starting player. The starting player has those 6 scoring tiles, which they shuffle and place one by one on the northern and the western side next to this curved scoring tile randomly. And once the first player is done with placing their scoring markers, the other players, all other players around the table, have to copy the same layout. So the same order of tiles on their boards in the same cardinal directions as well. Take the wooden round marker and place it on the first round on the round tracker below the score reference board that you have in the middle of the table. And finally, in the box, you will find a lot of cardboard building tiles in 5 different colors, similarly to the 5 different colors of cubes in the shaker. So you should place all of those in easy reach for all the players on the table. I will place them over here symbolically, and while I'm playing the game, I'll be using this, but there are a lot more of them in the box. And this is it, guys. This is basically the setup for the entire game of Shake That City. And well, you might be wondering, what about those construction tiles that I was talking about earlier? This is an optional rule or an optional mode for the game, and if you want to use it, then similarly, the first player, the one who was first setting up all of those bonus scoring tiles and the other players were copying off of him, takes his or hers 4 construction tiles, gives them a shuffle, and places them in a diagonal line on their board like so. And once this is done, all the other players copy the same layout on their boards as well. And we will get back to this construction module once we are explaining the rules. So I will take those tiles off right now. So now that we know how to set up a game of Shake That City, let's talk about the game overview, and then let's dive into the round structure. So guys, in a game of Shake That City, you will be placing 5 different types of buildings within your city, trying to place them so strategically that you will be filling out those bonus scoring conditions that you have on those tiles, and also trying to score as many points as you can from those rules described on the score reference board. You have 5 types of building tiles. The gray ones are roads, the black ones are factories, the blue ones are commercial buildings, green are parks, and red are residential areas. And over the course of 15 rounds, you will be filling out your board with those tiles, trying to create the best possible combination and, well, scoring the most points in order to win. Once the 15th round is done, you will calculate your points and, well, whoever got the most is the best city planner according to this game. So now let's take a look at a round of Shake That City. During a round, you will have 4 steps to follow over the course of those 15 rounds. The first step is shake the cubes. So the starting player, so for example, in this case, this one, takes the shaker, shakes it around, ideally not lifting it up from the table, and after giving it a shake, he pushes this sticking out element with the word push and lifts the shaker gently up. And this will give us, as you can see, a grid of 9 cubes corresponding colors with colors to the tiles that we can place. And after shaking, there comes the second step, which is choosing building colors. And again, the active player goes first, and the active player chooses one of the available colors within this grid, for example, gray or green or red or blue or black. And once they select this color, all the other players already can't select that color. So if I'm the active player and I select green, for example, then if this was a 4-player game, all the remaining players, so all the 3 remaining players, wouldn't be able to select green, but all of them would be able to select gray or red, for example, so only the active player's choice is forbidden for everybody else. But all the other players can choose the same one, as long as it's different from the active player's choice. In rounds 13, 14, and 15, this rule is non-existent, and if the active player chooses a color, all the other players can choose the same color as well, just saying. So this limitation is only for the first 12 rounds. The suggestion in the game is that once the active player chooses their color, all the other players can make their choices simultaneously and start moving on to phase 3, which is placing the building tiles. So placing the building tiles is related to this grid that we've created thanks to the shaker. And for instance, if I chose green as the active player, I would take 1, 2, 3 green tiles from the supply, and I would have to place them in this particular shape and according to the cardinal directions within my city. Now, you can't mirror this shape, you can't flip it, you can't rotate it. It has to be exactly. So I would be able to place it, for example, here, or I would be able to place it here, or maybe even here, whatever. But the shape has to be identical to the one that I've chosen from the grid. So each tile must be placed in an empty space on my board. The pattern has to be recreated identically. You cannot reconfigure it. You must place all of the tiles from the pattern that you've chosen. If you can't, that means that you have to choose a different pattern. And sometimes it will happen in later parts of the game that none of the patterns will fit on your board, and in this case you just don't place any tiles at all that round. It can happen. It really did to me a few times. And once you've placed the tiles, you cannot move them, remove them, relocate them. You can't do nothing with them at all. So those are the placement rules. And as I said, after the players in step 2 make the choice of their color, the active player first and then the rest of the players, you can basically do the third step, so placing the building tiles simultaneously. And the last step, the fourth one, is the end of the round. Now, when all players have finished placing their building tiles, the active player moves the round token to the next round. The cubes that were drawn from the shaker are put back to the shaker, and the shaker is passed on to the next player, who will be the active player for the second round. And this is basically it. Now, once the game ends, so once we reach round 15 and, well, everybody has placed their tiles, we will tally up the results. And now let's talk about this scoring system. So in a game of Shake That City, you have 5 different scorings depending on the types of tiles that you place in your city. And we will do a few hypotheticals right now. So the gray tiles, as I said, are roads. And one more thing, please remember that those rules are a bit different for the beachfront side. I will be giving you examples from the landlocked side, but once you know those, you should be able to figure out the reverse side easily on your own. So roads, the gray tiles, give you 1 point if they border the city limits. So, for example, if my roads were here, each of those roads would score 1 point. It doesn't matter that this road borders the city limits from 2 sides. It's always 1 point if they're at the edge. Additionally, each road leading inward to the city, which is connected to a road that, well, touches the edge of the board, also scores you 1. So in this case, at the end of the game, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4 points. If a road doesn't have a direct link, and diagonals don't count in this game, if a road doesn't have a direct link to the edge of the board, it scores you 0 points. Now let's talk about the green tiles, which are the parks. Now, if a park is neighboring a residential building, it will score you 1 point. So you will get 1 point for this tile. If a park is neighboring a factory, it will also give you 1 point. If a park neighbors a residential building and a factory, it will give you 2 points. But remember that this doesn't mean that, for example, if a park neighbored 2 residential buildings and a factory, that would give you 3 points. No, the rulebook says at least. So a park will give you 1 point if it neighbors at least 1 residential building or at least 1 factory. And if it's neighboring at least 1 red residential building and at least 1 factory, it will give you 2. So there are no multipliers here and no increases. 1 or 2 points and that's it. Now factories, so the black buildings, are scored as follows. If a factory is neighboring another factory, it will give you 1 point. If a factory neighbors a road, it will give you 1 point as well. And if a factory neighbors at least 1 road and 1 factory, it will give you 2 points, similarly to parks, but interacting with different colors of tiles. Now, the red residential buildings are interesting because a lonesome red residential building, so not in a group of red buildings, will score you 2 points. If you have 2 residential buildings neighboring each other, they still score you 2 points. The whole group scores you 2 points. Even if it was a group of 3, it would score you only 2 points. But if those buildings were spread out, you would get 2 points for each one of them because they are separate groups of residential buildings. And interestingly enough, a residential building will score you 0 if it's neighboring a factory. And in the same case, if a group of buildings neighbors a factory, so at least 1 residential building in a group is neighboring a factory, that whole group gives you 0 as well. And last, we've got the commercial buildings, so the shops. And the shops are interesting because a shop will give you 1 point if it's in the green area of your board, 2 points if it's in the brown area, and 3 points if it's in the gray area of your board. But a shop, in order to score any points, has to be connected to the edge of the map, either directly, like so, for 1 point because it's on green, or by roads, which in this case, for example, would give you 2 victory points for the shop because it's on brown. So the shops have to be connected to the edge of the map by the roads. And remember, those roads will score you as well, 1 and 1, because they're connected to the edge of the map. So this is how you score the basic tiles according to those landlocked rules. Now let's take a look at those bonus tiles. Those are pretty interesting because, as you can see, each of them points to 2 separate columns or rows in your board. And for example, this one means that if you have this row completely filled with tiles of any color, or if you have this row filled with at least 4 gray tiles, you can flip this at the end of the game during scoring for 3 points. You have to complete only one of those conditions. Either or. You don't have to do both. This one is very similar. Either you have this row filled in completely, or you have 4 tiles of different colors in this row. Here, either you have this row completed, or you have 4 green park tiles in this row. And similarly here, but for black tiles, blue tiles, and red tiles. And the corner tile can be flipped to the other side and it will get you 3 victory points as well if you have 2 tiles of each of the 5 colors in your city, at least, obviously. And once you tally everything up, so the points from these scoring rules for the tiles and from the bonus tiles that you've completed, well, that's the end of the game and you can see who won. Now let's get back to the construction variant for a moment and let's talk about this for a second. Now, as you may remember, during the setup, we are placing those 4 construction tiles in a diagonal line. And this module has 2 objectives that you fulfill throughout the game. The first objective is to remove all of the construction variant tiles from your player board. In order to remove a tile, because you can't build anything, you can't place any tile on those. First you have to remove them. In order to remove a blocking tile, you have to create an orthogonally adjacent building pairing anywhere on your player board that matches a pairing printed on the tile. For example, here I've got a gray/red tile. So if I manage to place a residential building next to a road, then I would be able to remove this tile from the board, because anywhere on the board I've placed a gray and red neighboring tiles. They do not have to reflect the order, so they can be flipped around as long as those 2 colors match, or they can be even vertically instead of horizontally. That doesn't matter. And the second objective is to score the highest among the players who succeeded in removing all of those tiles at the end of the game. So if you are playing with this module, only players who removed all 4 tiles will count their score at the end of the game. If you failed at removing those 4 tiles before the end of round 15, you lost automatically. No matter how many points you've got, you are not included in the final scoring. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. This is a whole game of Shake That City. I hope that this short explanation helped you out in familiarizing yourself with the rules, finding out what the game is about. And if you have any questions, use the comment section for that. On my channel, very soon, there will be a video of a solo playthrough of that game with me, where I will be explaining what changes when we are playing this game solo and how the rules work as well. And you will see how good am I at planning my own city. For now, thank you very much for watching. My name was Lone Vic. This was Shake That City from AEG. And if you would like to support what I'm doing here, if you like the content that I'm providing on my channel, there's the like button under the video, there's the subscribe button and the notification bell to ring it if you want to be notified about new material coming to my channel on a regular basis. And if you feel like it, there's a link in the description to this video if you want to buy me a cup of coffee. Thank you very much for being here with me. Thank you for taking a look into Shake That City with me. And, well, happy planning, everybody. Have a great day. See you very soon. Bye-bye.